You're tuned in to Porch Talk with Rev Pat, where raw, real talk rules. So sit back and relax with that delicious cup of coffee or tea or your favorite glass of wine as Rev Pat delivers real, transparent, and raw conversations about all things life. Let's get started.
Welcome to another episode of Porch Talk with Rev Pat, and I am so excited today. I am speaking with Nicole Odom-Hardnett. She's an entrepreneur, author of 2 books, Blended to Perfection and Dating Made Simple for Women. Blended to Perfection is all about working, let's see, y'all in the audience, how y'all gonna understand it. How to deal with the baby mama and the baby dad and all that other drama. Blended families. Let's just break that down. And I don't even have to explain what Dating Made Simple for Women is about. That I'll let her tell you how to buy that book. I'm not gonna try to tell you what it's about. You get the gist of it. So that's who's on the porch with me today. Now grab your coffee, grab your wine, or even your tea, whatever suits you well, and let's get talking. Miss Nicole, let me tell you, I'm interested in the dating, but I'm gonna stay off that topic. But,
okay.
Totally. First of all, thank you so much for agreeing to join me on the porch. I know what it's like marrying into a blended family. Totally did not want to, because when I was single, I didn't want to date anybody with kids for just that reason. I didn't want to have to deal with all of the stuff that might have come with it. Thankfully, our children were grown when we married, but there are still things where our families are much, different that we bring to the table. So just go for it and talk about how you made this work. And first of all, how many kids?
So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's definitely a pleasure to be here. We have 7 total.
Oh my goodness.
7 total. It's 4 boys and 3 girls. Their age ranges now are from, the youngest is 20, the oldest is 30, 33.
Who has a 33? What, 33?
33.
You look older than 25. What do you mean 33?
Well, I tell you, this black right here don't crack.
33. So how old were they when you all got married?
So I have the youngest boy. He was 7 going on 8. And so he has the oldest boy. He was 21?
Oh my goodness.
Like 21.
You wouldn't tell her. 21, you forget that conversation we then had. Who you talking to? So was it difficult? Just tell them about the journey.
I was in a blended family myself, but back then you didn't even think the words blended or step or any of that. We were just family. And it was what it was. So I didn't really think about it when I got into the situation. It was once I was in it and this stuff started happening. I'm like, uh-oh, what I get myself into? I'm like, uh-oh, here we go with this foolishness.
Nicole said, I went, uh-oh.
I'm like, what did I do? Because I don't like drama. I don't do the chaos. And I know life has the roller coasters, but it's when the other people bring stuff in. I can understand when your bills double up and all that type of stuff happens. But when actual people start throwing you curveballs and adding foolishness to your life, that's when problems start for me. And that's what was happening. It was people were, throwing untruths in. It was people baby mamas, or exes, talking about me and my new situation and had never even had a conversation with
Really?
me.
Had
And
never.
I'm like, never peeped the word, a hi, a hello, not one thing. And like, how you know anything about me and you don't know the same people that I know. We don't never traveled in the same circle at all. Because I don't have any girlfriends.
And you're gonna bring
One.
all this drama to see, and I think that's so unfair.
It is very unfair.
Do you
And
think
not
that
only
might?
is it's just not right. And
It's
then you bring
wrong.
the children in.
That's what I was about to say, because and then you throw the children in the mix, which is really crazy to me. But do you think that a lot of that stems from there's still an emotional connection to the other person? Because who cares what somebody does when it's over? If it's over, it's over. Move on move around, do whatever. You go live your life, I go live mine. So I feel like where it's that kind of mess where you got to continually bring craziness to the table, then it's something. And I don't care how many times you go, oh, I don't care about him. Yes, you do. Because if you didn't care about him, you go on about your business. So she didn't know, the person didn't know you, had never met you, didn't know anything about anybody that you know.
No one.
How did you handle it and make it work? I want to say, how did you handle it and make it work without making it even worse? Because I can imagine it probably got very, very, very frustrating.
It was extremely frustrating. The only thing that I can do was talk to my partner, which was now my husband, because it started, it really didn't start while we were, it started while we were dating a little bit, while we were living together, because we chose to live together before we got married. We knew we were going to get married. So we lived together for a couple of months before we got married. So it started then. And then it just progressed and just got a lot more intense. So for me, the way that I had to handle it was, of course, him and I communicated quite a bit. So anything that was said, the children would bring it back to him, and then he would, of course, share it with me. And, we just talked about it because a lot of it was about him as well. So,
so at least she made it. At least she was equal. Equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity gossiper or news toter. So we were both trying to figure out, how to handle it, because it was a new situation for the both of us. And, the kids were involved because it affected his kids more, but it also affected my kids because they had never been in a situation like this, because of course it caused his kids to cry, and it was just a lot of chaos unnecessarily, but caused by this one person. The way that I handle it was a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation.
Y'all better believe she was up there praying, Lord.
Oh my gosh, I felt
give me strength, give me strength.
Many nights, because I didn't know what to do. No one in my, and I don't run with a whole lot of females. I only have one girlfriend that I had. She had never been through anything like this, so I couldn't really expect her to relate. And some of the stuff I chose not to share with her. My mother had never been through anything like this, and I don't believe in bringing family into your relationship, because I don't want them to judge after things have blown over. So I had to keep a lot of it tucked away. So that's a lot when you're going through a sensitive situation like this to keep close to your bosom.
Yes.
So,
But
I had to deal
let me
with
say
it.
something though. That was a sign of wisdom, because oftentimes we mess up by going telling every Joe Blow, ain't so
Yep,
and so and Uncle so and so. And then when God works that thing out, now everybody's still looking at you crazy, like, well, I don't know how she would stay there after everything she well, they talking about him because or them, it or the situation. Because
right.
you
Because you were
brought
talking
them
about it.
into it. You were talking about it. See, that's
Mhm.
okay, y'all. That's another little side piece right there, wisdom. If you don't want nobody to be mad when you go back to them, shut up. Don't be telling folk about everything that's going on in your house.
That's right. You
Really.
got to keep
Not
that.
that, not that stuff. Not that
That's
stuff.
right. Yeah, and it's hard because you want to tell somebody, but you just can't. You just have to deal with it, and that's when you have to have that close relationship with God or whoever you talk to, whether it's the wall or whatever it is. You have to have that relationship, because if you don't, you are going to lose your mind. And, I did go through some depression with this because I had never been in anything like this. I had never had, and it was really just one of the, because we had three girls. It was just one of the girls that was closer to the mother that was feeding into all her verbiage.
See,
And
yeah.
she formed this tremendous bond with the mother because, she saw her mother crying, she saw her mother hurting, and she was believing everything that she was saying. And the daughter turned against me and her dad.
Yeah.
So we were the outcasts for a moment.
Yeah.
And, so I had never had anyone dislike me that I didn't do something to. It's fine for you not to like me. I'm fine with people not liking me. Everybody doesn't have to like me.
She said, I
I'm
haven't, look, y'all, that's the way you say it, because you're gonna be, I haven't ever had anybody dislike me because of something I didn't do. I mean,
right,
you may not like me because of the way I speak or the way I wear my hair, whatever. But
right.
I haven't done anything to you.
Exactly.
And you just,
And there was nothing I could do about it. And this is someone that is under my care, under,
wow.
I'm responsible for, God forbid if anything happens, because now I'm in love with this man and now we're married. And
Oh, wow.
what do I do? How do I handle this? And then eventually it just, he gave it to me. You just have to wait. You have to be patient. Something that you've never had before in your life was patience.
Wow.
I had to wait it out.
Wow.
And it
Wow.
took literally probably close to 2 years.
Ooh.
2 years of this young lady coming into my house and barely speaking. And I never allow anyone to disrespect me. It was horrible. And eventually, the words were coming out, and it was like a partial, hello, hi, like someone was pulling it out of her, like pulling teeth. If it had
You
to
were
be
praying,
right.
Lord, 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 girl, if
I
you
was
only
like, if
knew.
you only knew, if
Mm.
you only knew what I would do if you were somebody else in a totally different situation. I'm like, people just don't treat me like that, especially not my
Ooh.
own house.
And how old was
Don't
she?
do that. She
How
was
old was she?
18. 18.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
18. So I was like, oh no. But it was rough. But what I really had to do is step outside of myself and understand that this young girl was getting information from her mother,
Mm-hmm.
someone that she loved, someone that she cared for, someone that she felt sorry for. And, she didn't know any better.
And
And
that's
I'm
it.
sure if the tables were turned, that my child or children would probably do the same for me and feel the same way. So
That's what I was about to say.
And that's what I had to do, just step outside of myself. And then I couldn't expect in this situation for my husband to choose a side because this is his child.
Wow. Wow.
So I had to take myself completely out of the equation in this and just let go and let God. That's all that I could do. And it was the hardest thing for me to do, to see this me not have any type of conversation or relationship with someone that was coming into my house that was now under my nest.
And okay, so that's a lot right there.
It was very difficult.
I'm just gonna say that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, it weighed heavy on my heart.
And then, so you're battling with this child, this young woman, because she's not a child, this young woman coming into my house. And any woman, I don't think there's a woman out there that would find that disrespectful that you walk in my house without speaking, period.
Right.
Blank, that's the bottom line. And yet I've got to balance and step out of this, step aside and not even act like this is not happening to me in essence, because I need to maintain two relationships. I need to maintain the relationship with my spouse. And I need to maintain, even if you don't want one with me, an open door to have a relationship with me. Once all of the smoke is cleared and all of that, 2 years is a long time though, I'm telling you, 2 years is a long time. And you have on here, you said, when should all parents meet? Did y'all do that?
We tried to. So my first actual encounter with her was when the middle daughter invited me to a fashion show. Now the child invited me, so I wasn't going to turn her down. So I came.
Oh.
So that was the first encounter. She asked, the mother asked, what is she doing here? The youngest daughter was in my presence. Now I had already met the children. I had already met the girls, and and he had already met my boys. So I took the question as if it was posed as she was speaking to him, not me.
Mm-hmm.
So I hushed my mouth because the young daughter was there. Because I said at this moment, if I address her, there would be nothing further, because this little girl would lose all respect for me because this is her mother.
Right.
I'm not going to disrespect her mother. So it's best if I just zip it and let him answer. And he did that for me. And he did that very appropriately, not disrespectful or anything. And the conversation was over. She went to her seat, and that was it.
That was it. Ooh. I know what that conversation was like.
Because I was like, okay,
handle that, boo.
Mm-hmm.
Handle that, because I'm not going. I'm not. And for the sake of the child, you shouldn't have to put that. You shouldn't ever have to put a kid in that position.
Right. I didn't, because I know if I had said something the way that I would normally react to someone saying something like that with that type of
vitriol,
little bit of venom,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
It would have came back. The youngest, she wouldn't have seen me in the same light. So I was like, especially to her mother, I said, no, I cannot do this. Let me just shut up.
But how do you make it? So you can't even really say that you don't like her. You didn't know her.
I don't know
I
her.
just
So
don't like your actions. It's your
I don't like
actions.
her ways. I don't like that you bring you've brought the children into adult situations. I don't like any male or female who does that, who puts a child in a situation where they have to pick a parent.
Pick up.
That's
Yeah.
not fair at all. You know, parents should never do that. They should never talk about a parent, the child's parent, in front of the child. That's not fair. Their love for their parent is different. Their
Yes.
experience with that person is different than yours. What they did or what the two of you did together, the child should not know anything about that.
Oh, wow. And you know, so many people just went off the mouth. Like you gotta tell you don't have to tell a kid anything.
The kids
Nothing.
see how.
Kids can see and make their own judgments.
Mhm.
Let me tell y'all, for those of y'all out there, if you are in this situation, be who you are. If you're a good person, that's who that kid is going to see.
Mhm.
If you have a heart how can I say this? If you've already made up in your heart that these children I'm going to treat just exactly as if I would treat my own children, with the same love and with the same care, that child eventually will see that, because what the child will begin to see is the only time we have a problem, mommy, daddy, is when you're in the picture. When it's just us, I don't have a problem. But I think, again, it goes back to that person has to have some type of emotional attachment to the other person to want to continually be that invasive into somebody's life. Now, you said, should the couple attend therapy? And if so, should the therapist be in the church or not? Do you mean like a therapist that's in the church that no, I wouldn't. I'm just gonna be honest. I'll go get therapy, but
Right.
not at the same. And I don't mean that like my church is horrible. I just mean that's a kind of personal thing.
Mhm.
Now, if you want to refer me to a Christian therapist or counselor, I'll go, but I don't think I would be comfortable enough with someone that was actually in the church with me while I discuss those. That's a lot of info. That's a lot. That's got to be a strong person to hear everybody's info and not want to go spill the tea.
It is. It is very much so. And you go back and you talk about some very invasive and personal and deep down things that happen to people, and then you see them walking past you in the hallway, and you're like, well,
can't get that picture out your head. I'm sorry.
Right. And you're not going to talk to them the same way. You're just not going to do it.
That alters that relationship. Did you all do therapy?
Yes, we did.
Wow.
We did it. So we didn't do it before we got married. And so this is my second marriage. So in my first marriage, we did it just prior to, and we only did it that one time prior to getting married. In this marriage, we did it maybe a month or two afterwards. And I was very persistent about us going to therapy because I really wanted this relationship to work, because I said it from day one. There is a lot to me. I am a lot to handle.
Girl, look, I know my husband is a praying man. I already know that. But see, that goes back to knowing
who you are.
This is kind of tying into that whole dating made simple thing. If you have to know who you are, and you have to know that you're with someone who knows you know who you are.
That's right. That's why the therapy is very important, because it helps you unpeel all of those layers in a way that you really probably wouldn't get to in your normal dating routine. So I don't care if you dated for 10 years, there are things that you're going to leave out, or things that you think that you know about a person that you may not even uncover in all of those years.
Look, anyway, let me ask you something, because this has crossed my mind.
Mhm.
Did he expect her response? Or was he caught off guard by the way this person responded?
He was caught completely off guard. And let me
Wow.
tell you the funny thing. They grew up together. And I observe, I'm very observant of people. I listen. Usually when we go places or I'm somewhere, I am the quiet one. And
Mhm.
I'm a very good listener. So he was telling me, oh, she's not going to say anything, or she's not that type of person. I said, okay, the two of them have been dating. Their marriage has been broken for years.
Mhm.
They've been dating other people. I said, but this is the first time that she's seen you with someone else. Your marriage is over. The papers,
Mhm.
the work has been filed, you're other places, you've moved out, everything is separate, it's official now.
Mhm.
I said, she is going to feel some type of way.
Yep.
He said, no, she's not that type. Okay. That's what I said. Okay. I know I've been in mental health for a very long time.
So you
I'm not
knew.
a therapist, not licensed at all, but I know what I know.
Mhm.
Every move that he said, no, I don't see that happening. I said, okay. He was in his new place. She came and knocked on the door. He had to call the police.
Oh my gosh.
I said, I'm just going to say this. I'm not one of those people, but I told you.
Yeah.
And it was a thing where the girls were crying. You called the police on my mom. And I'm like, I'm like, this is too much drama. I'm like, I don't know if I want this. I'm not sure. But we had a bond like
Wow.
I never had. And that type of relationship usually is one that I run from because I don't like drama. But our conversations from like day one was just so powerful. We talked about everything and we were completely honest with each other.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just, hours upon hours. I told him, I felt like a kid. We were on the phone
I don't
for
like that.
hours.
Now, and I was just about to say, before you even said there was a bond, I was about to say, you'd have to have a pretty solid foundation in your relationship to get beyond this type of
Mm-hmm.
situation. And I know that most people probably say, well, are thinking, some of them I know probably, well, I thought this was about blended flam. Okay, this is real life, dealing with real life. This is
Life,
how blended families go. I'm sorry, it's not
right,
always the Brady Bunch. Get the Brady Bunch out of your mind.
right. This is real life.
Yeah,
This is real life. It doesn't always
and it's
go.
not always, and 9 times out of 10 lately, it is not. And that's sad.
It is.
I think it's horrible because life happens. Let me say this, and I know even as a minister, I can say this because I've been married twice before. In somebody else's world, I would probably be disqualified for being a first lady. I say that all the time, but it really doesn't matter to me. Unfortunately, I believe, and this is just me, this also comes back to, we're talking about counseling and we're talking about being prepared for marriage. I believe it's the church's responsibility to do, just like you do marriage counseling, and you know that a couple is married and both of them have kids. That should be a part of how we counsel, so that they can, what are you going to do if this happens? Or what are you going to do if that happens? Because caught up in the moment, you're just like, oh, we're going to be a great, big, happy family. No, everybody is not. It's some crazy, not just crazy women, crazy men.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Crazy men. This is blended family, real life. Let me say it that way, because no,
Right. This is the 101. This
is 101 on blended family, not how your therapist is going to talk to you about it, or somebody with a degree, because baby, sometimes you just need to be downright honest about it. Blending a family is difficult. How did you all, now I want to, because I'll say this and then you can answer it. When I was dating, as a single mother, you didn't get to meet my girls at all, until I really, truly felt like, okay, this is a good guy. And everybody has their faults and flaws, so we're not talking about perfect. But until I really felt that that this was a person, and it wasn't that many, I say they, it wasn't that many, that this person was worthy of meeting my daughters. And thank you, Lord, for that little thing, because I didn't want that problem. I didn't want any, it's so much, it's so much that goes into even making the decision of marrying somebody that, and you have kids and they have kids. How did y'all do the introducing the kids, and was that hard? I don't know how you did it with a 20-some-year-old, for real. I'm like.
So he met my oldest son by accident when he came over to my house after we went out on a date to use the restroom, and my son was actually gone. He came home early. He came home early. And so he came in and he said, so you have company? What? Oh my God. So he was shocked that I have company. Because I was in grad school at the time. And so I used to call it, I was dating school. That was my boyfriend. And so he was like, oh, so this is your boyfriend. I said, hold up, pump your brakes. I was like, it's not my boyfriend. He's just a friend. Because I used to hate that term, boyfriend. And he said, okay, so you've been taking my mom out. And so I introduced the two of them, and so he just went on and on and on and telling him about me. And he has no filter whatsoever. And he was like, well, she likes, her favorite snack is Cheetos, and has she passed gas in front of you yet? He's like, yes. Now I have boys. So
yeah, boys. Yeah, boys. So, hey, look, that's what boys are supposed to do when it comes to their mama.
Right. So he's just giving him the 411 to see how he reacts to him. And so he's just laughing, they shake hands and everything. But it turns out, he was like, oh my goodness, I remember him. So the funny thing is that my husband was my oldest son's daycare provider when he was, how old was he? 4?
Are you kidding? Look at God.
Yes.
God.
So when we actually saw each other, when I saw him, I was like, he looks so familiar. But we couldn't put our fingers on,
where did it come from?
Where I knew him from.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it wasn't until I actually called. So I had his card for a week, and then I called him because, again, I was in school. I had papers to do. So when we sat down the day that we actually started talking, that's when we put it together, where we knew each other from.
Ladies, take a tip. Did you hear what she said? How many weeks was it before you made that phone?
It took a week.
Took a week.
Yeah, and the funny thing is I had 2 cards. It was him and someone else. at the same, so we met at a bar.
Oh, I've been
Because
in that situation before.
Another
It's like,
one.
wait a minute, which one is this now? Let me think about it. And then that's when you make the phone call and you're very, very, very tactful. And you just go, hey, we met the other night. Make me remember you. I used to do that. Make me remember you. Da 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 da. Oh yeah. Ladies, there's a way to do it where you don't look thirsty.
Right. Now let him lead the rest of the conversation.
And let it go. Okay.
That's right.
First of all, the reason why you do that is, ladies, if you were so important or he was so attracted to you that he gave you his card, he should remember who you are,
right,
without you doing all of the work.
That's right.
And the
You shouldn't have to
conversation
say
shouldn't have to say anything. The conversation should go like this. I've been waiting on you to call me. There you go. Just a tip before we start talking about dating. Just a tip. That's an old lady tip that came from the old lady. But so he meets your son. He's on man. And from that point on, now when did you meet his kids?
So he met the oldest one. I think it wasn't that far after. It might have been the next week is when I was invited to the fashion show rehearsal.
Wow.
Of the girls. Yeah. So it wasn't that long afterwards. And then right after that, we all had dinner.
Wow.
All the kids, I went over to his house for dinner.
Wow. I love the fact that you said y'all went to his house, because that's so much, to me, that would be much more inviting than just gathering up at a restaurant or whatever. Meeting in a home setting. I would think that would have worked better for the kids.
Yeah. And then after that, the next time we got the kids, so the kids weren't any problem.
Until the marriage.
Yeah, the kids themselves, they were no problem whatsoever. They had a bond like instantaneously. They got along like they were already family. They worked together very well. It was just a situation with the mom and everything. That was the problem. That was the problem right there.
So and I'm gonna ask, this is all, I mean, because I already know how some of this goes, but I had an easier transition than you did. I didn't have that problem because my husband was a widow. And on top of that, our kids, we all went to get to church together. So we were already like family. So they knew what to expect from him.
Right.
Yeah, they knew what to expect from him. My daughters and his daughter, well, she knew me. And I think what really made it click was that he went to her because she was grown and had the conversation with her before he came to me about asking me to be married. And now that's the good side, y'all. The other side is what she's talking about, where just completely flip the script. Let's just do the fool. I don't do the fool either. I don't do okay, here's one thing you can probably speak to. Do you de-escalate it by not even, how do I want to say it? By not even responding to the person? Was that easier to not respond and to allow him, or not respond and let him handle it? And to just step back, was that hard to do, or did you do that? Or did you have to do that?
You mean when we were at the fashion show?
No, with her, period. With this person, period.
You know, she never addressed me personally. She never said anything directly to me.
Oh, wow.
So she's never, I mean, she spoke to me like, hi, that's about it. Now we have attended like graduation parties together, and other events like recitals and things like that, because we do have a singer in the midst of us. and dancers. So we have attended functions, and I know the middle daughter, she had I think it was a birthday party or her graduation from high school, I think it was. And she planned a dinner for all of us. And she asked her mom to participate and to be cordial. And if she would be willing to come with her dad and I. So she didn't have to ask that from our side because we've always been open to it. I'm always open to a conversation. I don't have any issue with her.
Right.
With anyone. And so it's always it's always been her. So she hugged me, and I had just had this strange look on my face. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go with it. Whatever.
And you're like,
Go with
okay.
I'm like, okay. So I asked him later, I'm like, okay, do I have a sign on my back or something?
You want to check, is it something? But I really don't. Wouldn't you just say to those that are listening, because I know we're talking about in a totally different way, because we're talking about blending in the real world. Right. No tech terms or anything. Wouldn't you just say to those women that are listening that are going through the blend early in the transition stages, is it not best just to let that person, your spouse, handle that difficult person?
It is. I would
just
say
keep the conversation between you and your spouse. Solidify your relationship. Let it solidify the relationship, not tear the relationship down. Because I tell you what, I would venture to say having a hissy fit and saying you ought to do something with her is not going to do any good. Right?
It's not. You let them to handle it the way that they handle it. Now, I know sometimes their stuff does get out of hand. It can get out of hand. I've seen that happen when they don't have good communication skills, or they can't stand each other for whatever reason. And then sometimes the new person on the scene is the calm one. And so I understand sometimes when that person has to interject. But in a situation like mine, where my husband is calm, and he basically ignores her because the children are grown. There's no reason for them to communicate whatsoever, because everyone can speak for themselves. So there's no reason for them to have any sort of dialogue.
Nicole says there is no reason, not any.
No,
absolutely no. We've moved beyond that point. But for those, my heart goes out to those that are transitioning.
Yes.
And all joking aside, that are in a position where as much as they would love to have, that the other person has a part of the lives of their children, the actions make it so toxic and so difficult that you have to say, no, I just can't have that person around me, the toxicity of it all. And children are so vulnerable to being caught in the middle with their parents. A baby doesn't know that, a child doesn't know. It doesn't make sense to them to have to make a choice. You see what I'm saying? Because all a kid knows is this is my mom and this is my dad.
Right.
Okay, I have to go spend the weekend with my dad. I go spend the weekend with my dad, and I spend the weekend with my mom. And that's it. That's all they know. And you can love them through the transition. That to me is what gets you through, what keeps you being a blended. I don't know where did they get that word from?
I don't know. I know it was hard. I know at times, like with my ex-husband and my youngest son, I wanted to tell him about his dad so bad and stuff that he was doing and lies that he was telling. But I was like, I can't do that to him.
Mm-mm.
There's no way.
Mm-mm.
I'm like, you know what? He'll see it. It
You
may
see it.
be another 8 years, but he'll see it.
You see it.
I'm like, it makes me so angry that he's choosing his side, or he's feeling, it was that he was feeling sorry for him.
Yeah.
And here I am paying all the bills, paying the tuition, buying his clothes, buying his shoes, and doing all this stuff. And he's getting away scot-free, and he's feeling sorry for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? He'll see it. And
And that's
eventually that day
look, and
came.
that's really that's the heart of a child. That's the same way. I mean, to us, because we're adults and you're going through it. So to you, you're going, boy, you would do what? Well, to that kid, to that child,
Yes,
all they know is that's my dad.
that's my
If my
dad.
dad
Yeah.
can't do the things that my mom does, it makes sense to a baby to be compassionate.
And let me just
We
tell
steal
you
that from them.
how thankful I am that I never tainted his mind about his dad, that I was doing what, I made a commitment. I decided to have him. I decided, okay, if you don't want to do this with me, help, keep up your end of the bargain because
Yep.
you're a parent too, then hey, I signed up for this. I'm going to do what I have to do as a parent. And that means I have to provide for him. Come hell or high water, I have to do what I have to do.
Yep.
And I did that. And he eventually saw it. He saw that I did everything that I could possibly do to provide everything that he needed and some of the things that he wanted. And eventually this man came along and helped me out with that and stepped in and filled in where his biological father fell off.
Yeah.
So much so that my youngest son changed his name.
Really?
Yes. He came to me, I think a year ago, almost a year ago. Yeah, because it was Father's Day last year. He sat me down and my mother down and told us what was going on between him and his dad, because I stayed out of it. I don't say anything to him about his father at all. That's their relationship. I don't say anything.
Wow. How did the dad feel? Oh,
Stay
wow.
completely disconnected from that. It
But
was
that's
his decision. His decision completely. He said his dad was not calling him. His dad was not honoring things, and had been going on for a long time. As I said, he was over the age of 18.
Oh, and now
He's 20. He came to me last year, right before Father's Day, and told me what he was going to do. The decision he had made, he said he had been thinking on it for a very, very long time. There was nothing I could do. And it wasn't my place to do anything.
no, he's a dog. What you gonna do? Drag him in the house in time?
Exactly.
You're not leaving this house. Yeah, right. Okay.
Exactly. That was his decision to make. It was not mine. And I kept telling his dad, until you do right by your son, nothing good is ever going to happen to you or for you.
Look, this is a lesson on this. We started talking about blending. We're talking about relationships with parents, kids, children, exes. It's all such. Look, I really don't think anybody, I don't care how many degrees you have, there is no pat answer for dealing with a blended family. There is absolutely no way.
Because I
isn't.
never could have predicted anything like this. I just knew my next partner, spouse, I knew what I wanted. I didn't know I was getting into in the beginning. I didn't know that at all.
Look.
But I had to go through some things to get to where I am today. And I'm glad I went through those things, because I had the best Mother's Day that I've ever had. I mean, my Mother's Days have progressively gotten better over the years. I heard that all 3 of my daughters posted my pictures on their pages. I got gifts from everyone, and they were great gifts. So the
And that's, I
tables
mean,
have
that's all,
definitely turned.
that's all we want. I don't
Right.
want to take your mom's place. I'm not trying to take
No.
your mom's place. Um, all of the young women that come into my life now, God is just sending them like crazy. I'm like, all of these young women, because I love young women anyway. I love to see young women doing their thing and doing it with class and with grace. And I just call them my bonus daughters because my youngest girl is my baby girl, and she heard me call somebody baby girl, and she was on the phone like texting me like, "Who did you just call baby girl?" And she busted up on the Facebook post and went, "That's not my name. It's not." No, she doesn't have any baby girls. I thought that was just me. It's all of the bonus daughters. That's that feeling that a new wife or coming into a situation where there are other kids, where there are other children. That's all. I'm not trying, I mean, unless you really do have that mindset and you throw it off if you think you're gonna come in and just take over somebody's kid and be their new mom and they have a mom. We just consider us bonus moms. I'm an extra mom that just wants to pour into you and love you because I love your dad.
Right.
I
That's
love
right.
your dad. Now that's coming from me, and that may be true for you. Now we know there's some other jacked up people out there that have some jacked up thinking, and usually they don't have no problems. It's the good
Right.
ones. I'm trying to figure out.
Exactly.
You got a crazy one and ain't nobody bothering her, but the good ones we catching heck over here because people just want to tear some stuff up. So
Right.
I think that would be my advice as an older woman that went into a marriage with older grown children. I didn't have to worry about that, but I did have to have my heart open to receive his children because we were coming from two different environments.
Mm-hmm.
So I did have to, but hey, like you said, I know what I asked God for. I didn't expect who he sent, but now that I'm in it, oh well, I'm just gonna have to pray my way through. If there's some things I don't, understand or whatever, I'm gonna have to pray. So I think that when we go into, are we really thinking about that when we date? Are we? Well, let me say this again. Have you really thought through the process of marrying someone that has kids? I mean, really.
Right.
Not off the top, oh, I don't care, I have kids, he have kids. I mean, the depths of it. Don't you think that's probably a more important component to the success of you all getting beyond that point, is that you had such a solid relationship, but at the same time, coupled with that, you were ready to be a mom to your children, right?
I think if you are one that can't open your heart to other people who's not willing to share pieces of yourself, are not giving, or if you're a selfish person, then being in a blended family may not be right for you.
Girl, don't be saying may not. Don't say may not.
Is not.
If you
Definitely
selfish as heck, you don't have no business marrying
being in the
anybody
blended family
with
because
children and trying to blend that family. Just go and move around, find you somebody without kids or something. She's being nice, talking about it may not be a good fit. It ain't a good fit. It isn't a good fit. It won't be a good fit if you are a selfish person.
right, because it's a lot. I mean, because if you're used to like I was used to my kids and what they do and all the foolishness, but then you have more foolishness that comes, and you have to have a lot more patience and be open to all of that, because I have boys. I don't have any sisters, so I had never lived with girls. So that was my first experience with girls. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they talk a lot. I'm like, when do they shut up?
They don't, mama. They don't.
So I said, oh my Lord.
Look, my son-in-law, my daughter has, the oldest girl is the oldest and only girl is graduating this in May. I don't know why my mind been blank, but they've been married about, I'd say 5 years. Now, this is 5 years. Yeah, 55-year anniversary. Yeah. So the boy is 14. And I pray for my son-in-law every day because that boy is thrown off as the day is long. And I'm just like, I try to talk to him. You're gonna have to pray your way through it. He's a teenage boy, hormones raging, going crazy, all that kind of stuff. You just gonna have to pray through it. But I really do. I'm like, I don't know how you do it, bro. That sucker wouldn't make it to 15. I'm telling you. And sometimes I'm just like, oh my gosh. And see, I had girls, never have been around boys. So this is real new because I'm like, this craziness? Are you serious?
Transition when you know, one sex and then another sex comes along and it's, yeah.
All of a sudden, these little girls and told you cute and now you lost your mind. I don't know how. And my son-in-law is so patient. He's just so patient. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could do it. So I think you just have to be a person who truly, truly has a heart to be a part of a blended family. You have to have that as a basis.
You do, and you have to love your spouse.
Yes.
Or you really have to love your spouse and want the best interest for your whole family. It can't be just for everyone to be successful. It can't be just, okay, I love my spouse. And then okay, you deal with your kids, I deal with my kids.
Don't go there. That is a pet peeve of mine. Don't go there. There is no such thing as that's your kid and that's right. Then what
that bothers me. That really bothers me because that was one of the things when I made my list. That was one of the things. It's all or nothing.
And you know why?
These are our kids.
Our children, because if you do that, then not only are you automatically setting yourself up to have to deal with some nonsense, you're teaching those children that they are separate. That's why they keep saying my mom or my dad or because that is what you have ingrained in them. Why would a child accept Nicole if all she's heard is those are her kids and these are mine? That's your kid, that's mine. So they're never going to accept me because I'm not her kid. You've made it abundantly clear. So I don't like that whole thing. That's his kid, that's her. Well, what did you get married for? The two of you have become one. That means everything that you have now falls under the very same umbrella. That is crazy.
That goes to that whole trusting your spouse.
Yes.
Well, if you don't trust him or her to discipline your kids or to talk to your kids or anything like that, then why are you with them? My husband, he disciplined my son or both of my boys. And I trusted him to do that.
And I trust you, and I'm watching. So let's just make that clear.
Exactly.
I trust you, but I'm looking.
Exactly. You have to pay attention because this is a new person. You just don't let go. People just go off. Oh, you go ahead and do that. You don't do that. But when you're with a person, hopefully you have that communication. You're on the same page, or at least you're, reading the page together.
No, get in the book together, not to get the page.
Yeah, you got to get in the book together. Be reading the same book.
Read the same book. Look, this is and at the same time, what is this man have children before you get married. You know it. Stop acting like you surprised.
Right. Stop acting you have one set of kids doing one thing, they going out and they staying out to midnight, and then you have another set of kids that has to be in by 10 o'clock. Like what household is run like that? I'm like, you just can't do. And
Did
it's
you
just
experience that?
total chaos. No, not in my household. Both of us have military upbringing, and I believe
I knew it was something, because I was just about to say, Nicole went in this house like an old woman, like what time? Be in before the street light hit. That kind of that's that kind of stuff going on.
So we had communication as we talked, and so I was gonna follow his lead. Oh, we really followed each other. We communicated, and if we agreed upon a curfew for the kids, that was what we agreed upon. They had to be in by such and such time, because neither one of us like to be woken up at all times of the night. We have to get up in the morning. We paying the bills here. Y'all not running things in this house. We running things in this house.
This is how you make a blended family work.
Yeah.
Well, why we have to be at that time? Because I go to bed at 10:30. I'm not getting up at 11.
That alarm going off at 12 o'clock, and we gotta get up at 6. And you were disturbing our sleep. Oh, no. And plus, we parents, we care. We don't want you out and we trying to sleep. We can't sleep good. And you running the street all times of the night. On the weekend, if you say, okay, I'm going to a party, we know what time you coming in. And, so they had some type of leniency, but we have to know.
Man, yeah. That military wasn't playing that. No. Now y'all know why it worked. She wasn't. Both of y'all with military background wasn't playing none of that. We already know that wasn't gonna work at all. So let me. I don't want my producer to kill me. It's 103, but we are doing a part 2. We're going to talk about this in my private group called Chosen Covered, and we're going to talk about dating, y'all. We're not going to talk. We're going to talk about dating because I already know where that conversation is going. So you're going to have to jump on Facebook and join called Chosen Covered, private Facebook group, in order to hear that. It's coming up sometime in June, because we want to talk about it right around the same time folks are talking about marriage. We want to talk about dating. And that might get a little deep. I'm telling you, that might get a little deep. We might have to do a separate Zoom on that one. We might have to do a Zoom and kind of go live in the group, because it might get a little deep and a little honest, because we need to have some real serious conversation about it.
It needs to be really honest about dating.
Oh, honey, don't worry. Don't worry.
Very, very honest, because I see a lot of things that concern me, and a lot of things I even did early on, but it all starts with that whole self-esteem.
Yeah, that's where it starts. So don't worry. It's gonna be it's gonna be as real as you can possibly handle it. So make sure that you, as you're listening, make sure you go to Facebook and join Called Chosen Covered. Nicole, this has been. I know how that conversation is gonna go. I knew it the minute I saw your picture. I said, if I get her, that's gonna be so good. I already knew. I could tell. So thank you for joining me on the porch.
Thank you.
You guys, thank you for listening. If you would like to join, subscribe to the podcast, please do. You'd have to go to Zippy Stream, ZIPISCREAM. You'll see a link in the description for the podcast. Join and become a subscriber, and you get access to just down to the earth, beyond the porch conversation. And we might have to have Nicole back on that so we can really dive deep. But if you're not ready for real, let me say this before I end this. If you're not ready for real conversation with folk that are going to just sit down and have a conversation, please don't subscribe, because I don't want no ugly little comments about what you hear, because you will hear real and raw. Totally different conversation than I have here on the porch. That is why it is called Beyond the Porch. So, but if you don't mind real, you can jump on and become a subscriber. Thank you for joining me. I will see you right back on the porch next Friday. So have your tea, your coffee, or your wine ready for the next time we get talking.